the restaurants that sell on the DoorDash app, this video is for you. Dear restaurants, I'm the best Dasher alive, aka Daddy Dasher, here to give you some tips, tricks, hacks, and cheat codes to earn more money from DoorDash. What restaurant out there doesn't want more money? We see how cheap you are. We see how you're going after even just the tiniest bits of more money. So I'm gonna help you out with that today. We know there's 4 parties involved. There's the customer, there's the Dasher, there's the restaurant, and there's DoorDash company, the app. First, we're gonna focus on the pickup and the delivery, the relationship between the DoorDasher and the restaurant. And then after that, I'm gonna give you some app-specific tips that you can implement right now to start earning more money. Now, long before I became Daddy Dasher, I was just a regular DoorDash customer, sitting in my apartment, being a little bit too lazy, maybe just a little too late, a little too cold at night to do the whole trip myself. So I just ordered some food on DoorDash, and I still do that. Since 2019, I think, maybe even 2018, I've been a DoorDash customer. I've been ordering from you restaurants on the DoorDash app. Since 2021 or 2022, I've been Daddy Dasher, the best Dasher alive, the DoorDasher. So I'm familiar with both sides of the equation. Also, although I haven't worked in a DoorDash restaurant, I have worked in restaurants. I've worked in the kitchen. I've been back there cooking up those shrimp. But enough of my impressive qualifications. Let's just dive right into this. I'm gonna rattle these off pretty quick here. So the first one, we already know, timing. Get the timing right, get the timing right, get the timing right, get the timing right. That's gonna be the main thing, just get the timing right. When the Dasher gets there, the food needs to be ready. If it's not ready, this is extremely important. Don't leave us hanging. That's when you start to get like, kind of like ill vibes between the restaurant employees and the Dashers. Give us what the real time is. If it's 3 minutes, tell us 3 minutes. If it's 15 minutes or if it's 45 minutes, just tell us and let us make the decision from there. We know that restaurants get backed up. We know things get messed up in the system. And we also know that sometimes you employees just suck and sometimes Dashers just suck. So it's all of it coming together. If you don't know, please, please, please go figure it out real quick. But restaurants, please hear me on this one. The worst thing to do is to just ignore us and not give us any information or tell us, I don't know, you just gotta stand there and wait, we'll figure it out. Don't ask us to fill up drinks. It is not the Dasher's job to fill up drinks. And actually it's even worse than that. Yeah, we can do the whole whose job it is to actually do that, but there's a different argument that's an even better one that satisfies the argument, which is we don't have food handlers permits. And if you don't have a food handler permit, DoorDashers, I'm saying, don't have food handlers permit. Everybody working in that restaurant should have a food handler's permit. So as a Dasher, we're not allowed to handle open containers. When you hand us a cup and say, go fill this up, you just handed us an open container and you're expecting us to go fill up an open container with something, and we don't have a food handler's permit. You have the food handler's permit. You're supposed to handle the open containers, seal them up, and then hand them to us. That way the Dashers never need a food handler's permit because everything's already all sealed up. Don't make us confirm that we picked up the order in front of you, and especially don't guard the food and watch us until we confirm it and then hand us the food. Because if we're gonna get technical about this, you have to hand us the food first and then we can say we've picked up the order. Because if you make us click that before you've actually handed it to us, we don't actually have the food and we just said we did. So what happens if you then don't hand it to us? Again, this is a bit silly that I'm even having to talk about this. Just a couple extra steps of you having to ask and watch me tap some buttons on my phone is annoying. But then also it's I'm not a thief. I get that some people have stolen some food and stuff, but by far, most DoorDashers are not thieves. I also understand that you restaurants do carry a lot of costs, but some of you are so cheap, and you can feel it and touch it and smell it and lick how cheap you guys are. I'm not even gonna talk about the sit down experiences in your restaurants, just talking to go. Some of the packaging is man, you guys went for the literal absolute cheapest option for packaging you could find and are just running with it. And it's not good packaging. It's causing some issues. So my advice here is to actually invest, be willing to spend a little bit of extra money on some good packaging. A coffee cup buy the little plugs that stick in the top, so when the e-biker or the driver in a car is bouncing around going over speed bumps, stuff's not splashing out of the cup. I've gone and purchased those myself. I've gone and looked at how much those little things cost on Alibaba, and I know for a fact that you restaurants are just too cheap. Some of y'all are just too cheap. This next one is completely free, no additional cost to the restaurant. Put the straws in the bags. Don't just hand me the whole order all bagged up and sealed and then here's a little dinky straw to go with it. Now, if you're a restaurant on DoorDash, maybe you're on there for exposure, but most likely you're on there to really drive some sales. And since that's the case, you should have some respect for DoorDashers when they come into your restaurant. Not at all am I saying roll out the red carpet. And I'm not even necessarily saying give Dashers priority over the people that are waiting in line in your restaurant. I'm just saying if you've got like 3 people in line at the register trying to place an order and a Dasher comes up, you better not be getting all 3 of those people through all of their orders until you speak to the Dasher. There needs to either be another employee there dedicated to helping the pickup offers, or the person at the register needs to be trained to, when there's a slight pause or a slight break or a slight moment, to say, you're here for a pickup? What's the name? Okay, 1 second, I'll help you out. And then they finish with the customer, they turn around, grab the order, hand it to you, and then go on to the second customer that's there waiting in line. Just like the tiniest bit of priority for the Dasher, and that priority might even be like, just don't ignore us, can go a really long ways. And again, it is a very important step in this new system that you're trying to create of DoorDash revenue. I mentioned a loose straw, but sometimes people will hand you like a couple boxes or 3, like bagels just wrapped up in foil. That is totally acceptable to throw in the cheapest grocery bag you can find and hand that to me instead of 6 different loose bagels that I have to just hold like this in my hand as I'm walking out. Cup holders that have 4 slots and that are only about that tall, nah. If you are going to use those, make sure it's not the flimsy ones. You can get the ones that are much stronger and sturdier. Because the cup only sits in about that much of the actual holder, you've got so much cup sticking out that it's really easy for one of those to get knocked out. The best cup holders that I've come across, I'll throw it up on the screen here, are the ones that have a handle and that have deeper slots for the cup. Some of y'all are using lids that are just so flimsy, and like even if your finger just slightly nicks the lid, the whole thing pops off. A good snug lid. This is one I rarely see happen. Usually people are pretty good about this, but just clean up all the items before you hand it to us. Like if you hand us a dirty, greasy, drippy bag with food stuck on it, like that's gross for us in our hands. That's gonna go in our car. The customer isn't gonna like to grab that off of their doorstep. So just cleaning stuff up a little bit is very helpful. I understand that restaurants will have different factors involved, but for Dashers, the easiest, best, most convenient way to pick up food is for there to be a pickup station where the restaurant employees place the orders and with the name written on them, easy to see, so we can just walk in, look at the different orders, see that one's mine, grab it, and go. No interaction with the employees, nothing. That's the easiest, most convenient, most efficient way. And one little barrier that I think is totally acceptable for not having food stolen and that sort of a thing is for the Dasher to have to go up to a restaurant employee and say, I'm here for this DoorDash, and then the employee goes and grabs it. I think that's fine. It's a little bit more annoying for the restaurant employee and for the Dasher, but it does offer more protection, and it offers more protection without making Dashers feel like they're thieves. It's also honestly super helpful, especially in areas where parking lots and parking spaces are limited and busy, to offer a dedicated pickup spot. It doesn't have to be just for DoorDashers, because another huge time waste can be parking. If it's busy and spots are limited and you just have to drive around and around and around, can be a huge time suck. And then maybe you're gonna double park or park in a handicap or a red curb, and then that's a little bit risky, right? And if you do end up getting a ticket for something like that while you're dashing, that's likely 1 or 2 or maybe even more days of door dashing out the window, because now you got to pay a silly fine. Another responsibility that doesn't belong to the Dasher, which restaurants sometimes try to pass on to the Dasher, is calling the customer about their order because something went wrong, or they didn't have a certain item, or they need to substitute an item and see if that's okay for allergies or anything like that. That's not the Dasher's business. The restaurant, y'all need to pick up the phone. You need to talk to the customer and sort that out before the Dasher gets there. Now, if you do want to roll out the red carpet a little bit for us dashers. On the occasion where I want to and it's there, it's super nice to be able to grab a free drink when you're picking up at the restaurant, or the restaurant's got like some little free sample they can give dashers or whatever. Just a little free gift of something is super nice. All right, this one's specifically for stores, maybe not restaurants necessarily, but stores, grocery stores, shopping stores. Dude, one of the most annoying things is opening up that list once you're in the store to figure out where you got to go shop, and every item is in a different spot than where it says it's supposed to be. Like it'll say this item is supposed to be on aisle 16 and it's on aisle 4. Items, stock, and location is not up to date. Once the food is prepared, whether it's hot or whether it's cold, put it in a hot or cold bag while you're waiting for the dasher to come pick it up. There's this one restaurant I think that does it the best. You walk right in the restaurant, they've got a table and they've got 10 or 15 different insulated bags sitting right there. And whenever the food's ready, they just go and they drop it in one of those bags. When the dasher shows up, they ask for the name, they pull that out of the bag, and the dasher's got the meal just as hot as it was when it first came off the stove. If you do offer a pickup station, then make sure that the names are displayed big and bold if possible. I know sometimes you just print receipts and staple the receipts onto bags or whatever, and the name's pretty small on the receipt, and that's still fine. We can hunt for it, but it is really nice if you've got like several shelves of orders sitting there and you can just see the names big and bold. Here are my app specific tips for you restaurants. We're not talking about dashers anymore. This is just more me having used the app a lot, me having been a customer a lot, and then also having a little bit of experience career-wise in these things. Number one, and this isn't in any specific order, but I know for sure there are several restaurants that are losing a lot of money just over this one simple thing. They're not offering a dessert menu. And I'm talking like bare minimum, you could have a brownie and a cookie. A lot of people have a sweet tooth, right? They like a little something sweet after their meal. So if they go to order from a restaurant, they picked out the couple items they want and then they want a little dessert to go with that, and there's no dessert option, they're gonna find a whole new restaurant to order a whole new different something from and make sure that it has a dessert. But the real sweet spot is if you can offer some sort of dessert that's still around a decent price point, like $3-6 price point, but that's more tailored to the type of restaurant. Like for example, if it's a Mexican restaurant, having just a brownie and a cookie, that's very helpful versus nothing. But like a lot of people are gonna want, if they're ordering Mexican food, they're gonna want like a little bit of a Mexican dessert. So if you can have like a $4.50 tres leches, they're gonna love that, or a flan. That is going to increase the overall order value and help you make more earnings through your DoorDash orders. And it'll help you just get more orders in general. I think a lot of us have probably heard by now that the thumbnail for a video is very important. If it's a really bad thumbnail, it's extremely less likely that people will click into that video. But the better, the more enticing and engaging the thumbnail is, the more likely it is that people will click. Same thing goes on DoorDash with your main image. If it's a bad image, you're missing out on a bunch of people clicking into your restaurant and therefore missing out on a bunch of orders and a bunch of money. If it's a really good image, enticing, kind of makes people hungry and thirsty for it, they want to explore the menu, then you're going to get more clicks, and those clicks are going to lead to more orders, more money. So what is it that makes a good picture? I wouldn't leave that up to just whatever you think might be good. I would go on there, look at the most popular restaurants. So that would be the restaurants with the most ratings and the highest ratings, and the ones that show up at the very top of the page when you're scrolling, and just study what those images look like. I'll give you a couple tips here. No fake pictures. Got to be real pictures of your food, but not real pictures of your food in a kind of bland way. It needs to be real pictures of the real food, but make it sexy a little bit. And then that also goes for each individual food item that you have. Very helpful to have a picture, a very good picture and a real picture of each one of those items. I can't tell you how many times, and I'm definitely not the only one doing it, where I want to order from a restaurant, but there's just not pictures of the food, and the descriptions may be a little weak. If there's not a picture, it feels like the restaurant's a little bit lazy because they're not taking DoorDash seriously. Like, you're not even uploading a picture of your food, or maybe your food doesn't look good, maybe it's not good. And next, I would say that reviews matter the most. I would prioritize your imagery over reviews, but obviously reviews matter a ton. The better reviews and the more reviews you get, the more that's going to help you get more orders on DoorDash. And there's a bunch of different things. I covered a lot of them in the first part of this video that will help you as a restaurant get more high quality and more frequent reviews. But a lot of that is not stuff I can really get into in this video. I mean, that's going to be your food, your recipes, your ingredients, those types of things as well. The next thing you want to do is have a really good description of what the item is, an actual real description of what it is, because a lot of times people are going on DoorDash to discover something new, try something new, and if in the description when they go to read it, they don't learn enough about it to know what it is and know that they want to try it, then they're not going to. Explain what the item really is, and then also include a little bit of language in there that, you know, makes the customer a little bit thirsty and a little bit hungry and makes them salivate a little bit over the item. This is probably the one people are most sensitive to, but price point. I know the margins on DoorDash are a little bit difficult for restaurants at times. I know DoorDash is taking a good chunk, but honestly, the cheaper you can go, the better on DoorDash as far as increasing order quantity. Now that might not increase overall profits. You're gonna have to play with your numbers. Just like you need that dessert menu, you also need to have a veggie menu. Even just a really simple, I'm not saying like become a veggie restaurant, nothing like that. Just have a few simple veggie options, because maybe the person ordering is looking for a veggie option or is having to order for somebody who wants a veggie option. And if there's not, and just a simple veggie option is enough. But since you have no veggie options, then they're going to a totally different restaurant. And I see a lot of restaurants, as far as veggie options go straight to like tofu or the Impossible Burger fake meat, which for some people, yeah, that's what they're gonna want. But some people, a lot of people who go veggie, they don't really do tofu and they don't see all this Impossible fake meat stuff as actually vegetables, which is what they're trying to get. So if you're gonna offer tofu and fake meats, like that's fine, go ahead and do that. But just know that you really do also need like an actual straight vegetable veggie option for people. And then on your specific menu items where you can choose like which type of meat, a lot of people will choose an option to choose tofu. But I promise you, there's a lot of veggie people out there that are reading through those and going, okay, they've got options, cool, but the only option is tofu. I don't want tofu and I don't want the meat, so now I can't order this item. If you just had another substitute option for extra veggies instead of the tofu, I promise you, you'll get more orders. I think it's a wise idea to offer special instructions, but I think even better than that is if you can include it in the actual selections for the item, whether like which degree of cooked you want it. Medium, well done, crispy, floppy. Dessert menu, veggie menu, and the last menu I'd say you need to have on your menu is a kids menu. Again, can be pretty simple and straightforward. Honestly, I think sometimes I see some kids menu like, man, you guys are really like just throwing scraps together for these kids. Like, why not make them something a little bit decent? But that's beside the point. The point is to just make sure you have a kids menu, because it's the same thing with the dessert menu and the veggie menu. There's a lot of people who will throw everything into the cart and be ready to go, but they need to grab a dessert, or they need to grab a veggie something, or they need to grab a kid something, and since you don't have that on the menu, they're abandoning the whole thing, starting over and buying from a different restaurant. Oh, and also I thought that was gonna be the last menu thing I mentioned, but also a drinks menu. I think the other ones are more important than a drinks menu, but you know, people like their soda. And then also an alcohol menu is an option too. If you're not running sponsored ads on DoorDash right now, I suggest that you do. If you never have before, I suggest that you try them, because from what I can tell, I haven't actually ran them myself, but from what I can tell is they are getting a lot of clicks, because they've done them in a way where they're still very native. Like, I don't think a lot of people are actually realizing that they are ads, and even if they do, they're not like annoying ads, right? It's just the same picture of the restaurant that you see when you're just scrolling through the regular options, but by running it as a sponsored ad, you're able to get it at the top of the page. And so I think as a restaurant, it's definitely worth testing sponsored ads to see if that can increase your orders and earnings. And my guess is that, you know, if you do it well, maybe it takes a little bit of learning about it, but I think that some sponsored ads could work extremely well for a lot of restaurants out there right now.